What do Hidetaki Miyazaki, Jack Black, and Quentin Tarantino have in common? Some might say nothing, but they all share one thing: a love for feet. Miyazaki's love for the female arches makes its way into his video games. We can see his love all the way back to Demon Souls with the Fool's Idol. She is just goth Ronnie. What more could he ask for? I bet we could see even more feet further back in his discography, but I can't be bothered to research that much. However, I am bothered enough to celebrate Miyazaki being named one of Time's the most 100 influential people of 2023 by speedrunning Dark Souls 3 the way he intended. Miyazaki wanted to make this run easy this time by giving us a Firekeeper with feet. Yeah, Anastasio, the DS1 Firekeeper does not have legs. The dingy robe reads, worn by the Firekeeper at Firelink Shrine. It is thought to have once been the white skirt of a maiden, but its true origins is lost in the patches of blood. Perhaps its former wearer was maimed to prevent escape. To keep the run interesting, I will not count the Firekeepers, so once again it is to the painted world. This time, we're going to be seeing Sister Feetiede. Sister Feetiede is a boss from the first DLC, so some of the glitches used in my Deacons of the Deep video will not be useful. Mainly the teardrop glitch was patched in 1.06, but Ashes of Ariandel was released in patch 1.08. I need to look for inspiration to route out this run and found the any % current patch category. This introduces new glitches I had to learn, but created an amazing route. I'm running on patch 1.15, but all glitches used work on the latest patch 1.15.2. With all that out of the way, I can start where every run begins, character creation. I instructed him to start as the bandit class for the knife. This weapon will be used for a glitch later in the run. For the burial gift, black fire bombs are picked to help in killing the tutorial boss, Gundyr. Speaking of Gundyr, once again I will be Tekken comboing him. After pulling the sword, I hit him with 8 light attacks, proccing a bleed. I throw a black fire bomb at him as he tries to fight back, but I get ready to parry his attack. I got unlucky with the unparryable Gundyr punch in this run. After taking some hits, he gives me an attack that I can parry. This is followed up by a black firebomb into a repost. Gundyr will transition to his second phase after this, but I don't stop while he is down. During his phase transition animation, I hit him 4 times before moving out of the way. I regain my stamina before hitting him 5 more times. The third hit will proc another bleed, and the final 2 hits will kill. I sprint towards the door and perform a quit out. This is done to skip the door opening animation that eats away at the endgame time. With fly split on screen, you can see why I'm not in game, it is stopped. Once I load back in, it resumes. I split for Gundyr at 1 minute and 22 seconds. In Firelink, I put the coiled sword from Gundyr into the Firelink Shrine bonfire. I use this long animation to unequip the shield and black firebombs as I no longer need them. I will also unequip the hood and put on the armor. This will offer the most protection while still being under that 30% threshold for fast rolls. Once the animation is finally over, I warp to the high wall of Lothric. In the high wall, I avoid fall damage as much as possible. I don't want to rest at the bonfires unless necessary. This is a speedrun after all. I Goomba stomp this hollow that tries to wake up his friends before making my way for the gang squad. I'm going to skip Vordt in this run, but first, to make it viable, I have to perform a ladder warp. There are at least 3 ways to ladder warp, but I will only cover the 2 I use. The first way is to get hit by an attack as you interact with the ladder. The second way is to lock onto an enemy and then interact with the ladder. In both versions, there is a visual cue of my character moving to the center of the ladder but not climbing it. Whenever I see this happen, I know I performed it correctly. I've explained how it is performed, but what does it do? To put it simply, I'm tricking the game to think I'm still climbing the ladder, but can obviously freely move around. The game stores my position at the bottom of the ladder, so after quitting out and loading back in, it puts me at the bottom of the ladder. Ladder warp is extremely difficult to time correctly, so obviously in my PB, I failed to get it on the first try. Once I do get it, I drop down, making my way to Emma to receive the small Lothric banner. I quit out to bring it back to the ladder where I performed the glitch. This is perfect as the Vordt Skip is going to be performed right there. Vordt Skip utilizes the def cam like Sensegate Skip, so much so there's a variant similar to Sensegate Skip. Let me explain the def cam for those unfamiliar. The def cam is that cinematic overhead camera when fallen to your death. The main use for it in speedrunning is that the def cam stops loading the world around you. This is typically used to get on the other side of locked doors. Vordt may guard the door to leave the high wall, but using the def cam I can skip the door and Vordt. There are a couple ways the def cam can be achieved without dying, but for this run a difficult version is used. Immediately after loading in from the quit out at Emma, I run towards the hollow archer. I stay to the side to avoid the arrow they shoot at me. I then walk the plank before getting hit by an arrow from behind. I line my right foot up with the plank. I have to be accurate in every placement I do or I will fall to my death. There's also the added pressure of the archers reloading, so this is on a timer. I have to quickly move on to the next step. I look all the way down, positioning my head to the right of this wooden beam. I tap W to have my character face that direction without making any major movements. I will then hold Alt to walk and W to move forward, but just before I fall off, I press A as well. When done correctly, I turn and land on the pillar below and looks like this in real time. Once on the pillar, the hard part is done. I look forward and use the camera to move my character slightly to the right until I fall. I spam the roll button, holding forward, and land safely down below. I forgot to mention another quirk of the def cam earlier. When in the def cam state, the game controls with tank controls. Instead of moving where the camera is facing, the character moves where the character is facing. I hold W to move forward and lightly tap A or D when I want to turn. As I make my way to Vordt's Arena, don't forget to subscribe. Bringing up the stats of how many of you are not subscribed is an active threat. In Vordt's Arena, I stay to the side. There's one thing I do not want to do, and that is triggering the boss fight. In front of the door, there is an area where the cutscene can be triggered to bring you into the boss fight. This will remove def cam and force me to fight Vordt. As long as I stay to the side, I won't trigger it. Once past the door, I keep running until I get the prompt to raise the banner. I am transported to the Undead Settlement, removing the def cam. I split Vordt Skip at 4 minutes and 36 seconds. In the Undead Settlement, the doormen actually decide to play nice and let me pass. I take this opportunity to run past and drop down. I knock off Lura's bone, but I'm sure Grey Rat will find a way out of his cell into the bone. Across the bridge, I take the rocky path once again, but this time without Spook. I stop running to dodge the attack of this hollow slave before jumping over to this area. The tower to leave this area is just below, but just dropping down would kill me. Unless I use a fall damage cancel. To perform the fall damage cancel, I jump off a ledge, trying to hit the edge and roll off. I let go of forward mid-roll, allowing me to perform a mid-air quick step. The bandit knife I started with has this skill, but any weapon with a quick step works. Whenever I get close to the ground, I quick step like a bloodhound step PvPer, and just like that version of quick step, there are iframes that are used to negate the fall damage. The timing of the quick step is important, as if you wait too long, you get the free fall animation. You will not be able to quick step after getting this animation. After landing down below, I immediately head towards the elevator where I'm going to perform another fall damage cancel. I load back in after quitting out on the door and follow this line towards the elevator. When I get to this line of the tiles, I stop to regain stamina. This will also give me more time for the elevator to come up. I jump at this line and quick step after passing the white beam. I had a bad drop and have to roll off the elevator before it is too late. While writing this script, I realized that I was doing something wrong. I should have been holding forward until I was rolling. Letting go of forward mid-jump stopped the roll from landing. This made the glitch way more precise and caused a lot of issues. Don't make the same mistake I did. Anyways, back to the run. The door to leave is close, but there's an Outrider Knight. You can straight up just sprint at the left pillars and they will miss you. I quit out on the door leading to the Road of Sacrifices. The start of this area is incredibly easy for once. I don't have to pick up the tome, so I can just run by the enemies. Every time they see me, they do their power-up animation, allowing me to effortlessly make it to the halfway fortress. I skip past the bonfire and immediately fail a fall damage cancel. With what I know now about the glitch, this cancel is not even hard. Pain. Out of Estus, I need to avoid the enemies and a dog as I try to make my way to the next bonfire. I avoid all the attacks before quitting out at the bonfire to reset the enemies. I could light the bonfire, but with the dog chasing after me, I would not be able to rest at it. Resting at the bonfire is exactly what I do when I load back in to regain my HP and Estus. With all this health, I make it to the next big hurdle in the run, Crystal Sage. 3 Estus Flasks and a +0 bandit knife. But how are you going to fight him? Who said anything about fighting? I'm going to skip Crystal Sage. Sage Skip simply utilizes terrain in the arena to jump past the fog gate to the Cathedral. This glitch was very inconsistent, so I went to the ancient tomes. I searched for any consistent method. I finally found one by David Tankery. Crystal Sage won't take this easy, so they are hitting me with attacks while attempting the skip. I sprint over to the rubble on the left of the fog gate before jumping across. I switch over to mouse and keyboard before lining up with this white tree limb with this white part of the dark vines. I parry. While the animation plays, I hold Shift and D to sprint to the right. I press space to jump at the right moment. The goal is to land up on top of the wall, allowing me to roll off to the other side of the fog gate. I mess up a couple times and fall into the hole, but a quit out puts me outside the boss arena, so I can try again. Trust me when I say this lineup made it more consistent. On my 4th attempt, I land up on the wall and carefully maneuver myself so when I roll off, I don't hit a collision barrier. With Crystal Sage out of the way, I can make my way into the Cathedral of the Deep. Gale is waiting for me in a small chapel, but first I need to get through a horrendous area. They place archers and dogs into an area and expect me to enjoy it. It has done the opposite as I try to go through this area as quickly as possible. I stay down in the ravine to avoid the archers, but 2 dogs are waiting for me. I manage to sprint past them, but of course they have to teleport. I use the tried and true method of quitting out. When I load back in, the dogs forget I exist so I can make my way to the chapel. There's just one hollow in the way. I sprint past and he blows up for absolutely nothing. I quit out on the door, splitting for Crystal Sage with a time of 9 minutes and 54 seconds. In the chapel, Gale is waiting to bring me to the painted world. I spam through his dialogue and get sucked into the painted world of Ariandel. I thought this area would have been the hardest part of the run, but thankfully I was wrong. Turns out you can just sprint past the Farron followers, making it to the avalanche. Even the wolves and tree women don't pose too much of a threat. Instead of just teleporting behind you, these doggies like to run out in front of you before attacking. One of the wolves was smart enough to stop right in front of me and get a hit in. Fortunately, I was able to tank the hit and continue on. Just before getting to the rope bridge that leads to Ariandel Chapel, I quit out. The wolves can hit the bridge, causing it to fall, preventing me from making it across. I make it safely across the bridge, arriving at the chapel. I perform the last quit out before Feetiede and run over to her and spam through her dialogue. The timer stops when I receive the chill bite ring from her, giving me an in-game time of 11 minutes and 33 seconds. Miyazaki is shedding a single tear right now, but there is still time save. A sub 11 minute is possible, maybe somebody out there can achieve it. My auto split flags will be in the description for anybody who wants to do this run. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, then consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for wasting your time with me.